welcome Rainn Wilson.
It's my first Star Trek convention in my life.
Like, you've never even, like, been to one?
I've been to Comic-Cons before. I've been to cons in various regards. I've been to science fiction conventions when I was a kid, because I was a huge sci-fi fan growing up, but not actually like... I was in the movie Galaxy Quest. I don't know if you've seen that.
That was your first movie.
But that was my very first movie, and this is like Galaxy Quest come to life. It's fantastic.
Exactly the point. That's why that movie is so great.
And it was amazing. Sorry, I'm interrupting you, but are the Thermians here? Do you guys see those Thermians walking around? It was so funny because these Thermians are here, like, and we made up the walk and the laugh and hello, how we were talking like this, and they're embodying it, and there was just the four of us and the director kind of like figuring that out on the set in 1999, and now there's actual Thermians. It's fantastic. Anyway, sorry.
Well, on behalf of everyone, since this is your first Star Trek convention, on behalf of everyone in this room, on behalf of the Star Trek community around the world, welcome to the family.
Great to be here.
All right, now, how did this role come about for you? Because I know that you like the original series, and now you're on a Star Trek show.
Yeah, this role came about when I first read the very first press statement that they were going to do a new Star Trek show. And I called my agents and I was like, I know this is weird, I've just finished The Office. But I'm a huge Trekkie from way back, and I love, can I just meet with them? So they set up a general meeting, and I met with the producers, and I just talked to them about my love for Star Trek, and I just said, I hope you'll keep me in mind. And they were like, well, for the series regulars, there's not anything that you really write for off the top, but maybe, you never know, like we have different, subplots here, and character arcs, and, various universes that will be branching out and stuff, so we may find something for you. And then they were like, here's our idea, is to reboot Harry Mudd. So it was literally, you said a dream come true, it was really my dream come true. Yeah.
So like they say, oh, we're gonna reboot Harry Mudd, and you go, oh, great! And you went, did you go like, oh, well, I mean, like, when did it sink in, like, okay, like, you have to echo the character in some ways, but also make him your own.
Right.
So what was, like, the challenge in doing that?
Yeah, so it was kind of doing a deep dive into, what Roger Carmel did, and the late, great Roger Carmel, who originated the role, of course, yes, who is so memorable, charming and irascible and a little bit dangerous and hysterical and hyper-articulate, and just all those great qualities that make Harry Mudd who he is. And thinking about him in this new universe, and I talked a lot to the writers about what the new Star Trek Discovery universe was. And they're like, it's a time of war, and it's war with the Klingons, and it's much darker, and it needs to reflect kind of more of our modern times. This is not going to be a show where they're exploring the universe on an episodic level, but it's all an arc. And they talked a little bit about the role that Harry Mudd would play and what he was up to. So I knew I needed to bring kind of an edge to him that hadn't been in the character previously in order to make him fit in. If you took Roger Carmel and put him in Discovery, he'd be done. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. So how do you keep some of that humor and that insouciance, look it up, while keeping kind of an edge to the character. So it was really exciting to me to have someone that's part villain and part comic relief.
When you're watching Mudd's Women, which was like the second episode produced when they went to a regular series, it's also pretty dated. And then Mud from the second season, which is much more comical and humorous. Yeah, Roger was fantastic and everything, but I never really felt like the Enterprise was in any danger. But the Harry Mudd in Discovery is more dangerous. He's definitely more dangerous. There was more than an edge to him. Like, there was the humor, there was the slyness, there was the manipulation, but you did give him a darker, more dangerous, like, character.
And also, conversely, yes, that's true. And conversely, you know, Discovery sometimes could use a little laughter in it, because it's just so damn serious all the time. Everyone's dying over and over again, and falling in love, and getting infested by molds and stuff. Like, it's so it was fun to also bring some comic relief to the show as well. So and you know, and I mean, you guys know way better than me, but I know part of the reason that I love the original series and the Next Generation were those episodes that were almost comedic episodes. I mean, there'd be standalone episodes that were almost like a sitcom.
Tribbles.
Exactly. So humor is a part of the Star Trek universe.
Sure. The introduction, Choose Your Pain, when you're in the Klingon break with Jason Isaacs and Shazad, like working with them initially, just to sort of like introduce the character. What was it like working with those two guys in those scenes from the first of your two episodes as Harry Mudd?
Yeah, well, I was a little bit nervous. I mean, it was pretty crazy walking into all those sets that they had built up in Canada, because they had the Shinzu, and they had the Klingon ships, and the Discovery, and just in a room this size, they had a couple of like spaceships and bridges and, you know, sick bays and stuff, and it was a little bit intimidating and overwhelming. And also, it was a little tricky to find his voice, because Mudd speaks almost Shakespearean English. You know, it's overly flowery, and he uses language in a very heightened way, and you know, where a lot of Star Trek Discovery is a little bit like understated, like shoot him with your phaser. You know, it's like a little. But Harry Mudd is effluviant. Is that a word? I should look it up. So it was a little tricky to kind of find. I didn't, you know, have a rehearsal, so it was just thrown in. It was a little tricky to find his character there in that prison cell, but I thought it was a really expertly written plot line there, and it was great working with the great Jason Isaacs, he just brings it. He's just a terrific actor, and I knew I needed to kind of be at the top of my game to be able to go toe to toe with him.
Well, that was the intro, but I have to say that Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad, of the 15 episodes of Discovery, that one was my favorite. Because to make the sanest man go mad
was
my favorite episode of Discovery.
To erupt in applause, the likes of which had never heretofore been heard in Las Vegas Star Trek-a-thon place. So, but it was like 12 people like, yeah, I like that one.
It really
but
is like
forgiven. You're forgiven. I love you.
So, but that episode, I have to say, like that was a standalone episode.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this really felt like, I mean,
he hid in a space whale. Right? I mean, how cool is that?
That's out. That's like, and he's like, it's like a tall glass of water. Like he is in the room, and look at. But again, the danger of it. Like I felt like, wow, the Discovery's kind of, it's kind of screwed. But that was your first real interaction with everyone else. So what's it like to have that episode to yourself and to work with everyone, especially like Sinequa, who's fantastic, and Doug Jones. The rest of the cast.
Well, it was crazy because the episode that I read the week before we started shooting was completely different than the episode that we started shooting. So this was, you know, it was pretty early on in the series, and there'd been some writer turnover and stuff, so they were really finding their sea legs as a series. So a lot of it was scrapped. It was a little bit overwritten. A lot of it was scrapped and rewritten at the last minute. Well, not the last minute, but the 4 days before we started shooting, there was a mammoth rewrite on the mud stuff. And I just want to give a shout out to a very special writer on the current staff named Ted Sullivan. And yeah, he's really something. And he flew in from LA, and he really helped me a lot with the character and with the plotting. And I mean, the directors were great as well. But he's a great resource in the Star Trek universe. I really enjoyed working with him. I think he really got Harry Mudd's voice, and he's a great asset to that writer's room. So it was really exciting. Sonequa is an exceptional human being, a great actress, and just one of the kindest people you'd ever want to meet, with the most integrity, and the great Doug Jones, who I am in awe of. Yeah, he. You know, he's known for his prosthetic work and this and that, but he's a great actor. He's a terrific actor. He really has made Saru one of the most memorable kind of alien characters of all time. So it was great for me, but most importantly, and you guys can appreciate this, because like I'm a lowly sitcom actor, and I got to fire a phaser. I got to be teleported. I was beamed away. I sat in the captain's chair. And I think they said this in canon, in Star Trek canon. I was the only non-captain to record a captain's log. And that was my idea. I said, because they had me kind of doing a monologue, like Harry Mudd was in the captain's chambers, and he's like, well, here I am, computer, you know, finally got control of the ship, of my ship. Maybe I'll rename it the Harry Mudd or something. I had some kind of monologue like that. I'm like, we should do Stardate 2013, Captain's Law, Captain Harry Mudd reporting, and do the whole monologue that way. So they shifted the dialogue, where I think I'm the only non-captain to do a log. So it was just super exciting for me as an actor, and it ended up being a very tight, well-written episode, and David Barrett, the director, brought a lot of great visual flair to it.
I just want to say that hearing your excitement at saying, I got to fire a phaser, I got to be transported, I got to sit in the captain's chair, because I was going to ask you about that, if you like had a moment.
I said teleported, didn't I? Transported. I was up at 4:30 this morning to fly here. My brain's not working.
That's okay. But just, yeah, so you did have those moments where you were able to be in the moment and say, look what I am doing.
It was so cool. And I got to kill Jason Isaacs over and over and over again, just like the rest of the cast and crew wanted to do on a daily basis.
At that time. So did you know where that character was going? Where Lorca was going? Did you know what was in store?
I did. They gave me the inside scoop.
They did?
Yeah. And it was so cool. And they told me, I was like, no way! What? That's what's happening? So yeah, I got some good behind the scenes scoop. I was like, ooh, this is fun.
Well, it's very exciting, because we have not seen the last of Harcourt Fenton Mudd. Mm-hmm. This great news that came out of San Diego about getting a standalone short.
Yeah.
What they tell you about that you can share with us?
So I don't really know. I haven't seen or read the other shorts yet. They said, we're going to do these Star Trek shorts that have never been done before. They're going to be like 8 to 12 minute mini films that take you into different aspects of the Star Trek universe. And we're going to shoot them concurrently with the show. I think it'll be really cool. And I was like, well, okay. And then they sent me the script. It's fantastic. This script they sent me, what's the animated show? Rick and Morty. This writer from Rick and Morty wrote it. And it's really funny, but it's twisted too, and in a really delicious way, and it stars Mud, and I get to direct it, which is amazing. So now I directed myself in The Office 3 different episodes, but The Office didn't have special effects. We didn't have visual effects. We didn't have these kind of like, the intricacy of shooting. This is a very complicated thing. So they also got me a storyboard artist. For the first time I got to work with a storyboard artist, which is an amazing process to describe how you see the scene, and they're like sketching away on their iPads and, you know, helping you choose camera angles and stuff like that to best tell the story, which is not my strong point. But I'm just learning a ton. It's, I feel really privileged to be able to do it, and I think the fans are just gonna love this. It's very funny and weird. You see some alien situations you've never seen before in the Star Trek canon, and I'm thrilled.
Wow, that's so exciting. You know, you talk about being a fan, like growing up and everything like that. So, like, what were those episodes when you were growing up that you loved? Like your favorites that you, like for me it was Sitting on the Edge of Forever, of course, Doomsday Machine, stuff like that.
Yeah, all of those classic episodes I watched over and over again. You know, it was in syndication in the 70s, and I was a geeky little kid living in Olympia, Washington, and I would come home from school. Was that for Olympia or Washington?
They're cheering for you. Yes.
Let me try this. I was living in Washington.
Yeah.
Okay. I was living in Olympia. No, you're lying. You can't lie and woo at the same time. You know, I'd come home from school every day and I would watch Star Trek, and it was like my other family, you know. And I think, like, maybe for some of us, I had a pretty miserable family situation. I would much rather be with my Star Trek family than my actual family. Can I get around?
Yes, you sure can.
Yeah, there's too many episodes. I even like Spock's brain. I even like the bad ones, you know.
Really?
So much pain. Yeah, you're so alone. Yeah, so it was a big part of growing up. I put together a model of the Enterprise. I put all the little stickers on it. I had a coloring book. I had a technical book that explained how everything worked. And
did you have the trading cards?
I didn't do the cards. And I watched originally the Saturday morning cartoons as they aired. I mean, I was like appointment television, whatever it was, like 9:30 a.m. CBS, you know, and that's where the other Harry Mudd episode aired.
As the shows went on, where you mentioned Next Generation, did you keep going with it? Did you get into Deep Space Nine and Voyager, or were you just, like, you know, living your life and, like, busy with that?
When Next Generation came on, I was just finishing college, and so I was a really broke, struggling actor for most of those years, and I would always watch Next Generation when I could. But a lot of those years I didn't have a TV, and there wasn't a way, you couldn't stream them. You know, it was back in the day, like, if you missed it, you missed it. And so I would say I saw about half of the Next Generation episodes, but I didn't see them all, and I really liked Deep Space Nine too. I was really into that. And I did a play with Kate Mulgrew. We did Shakespeare in the Park and Titus Andronicus in Central Park, and she was Tamara, Queen of the Goths. She was an amazing actress and Shakespearean actress, and I played a supporting role in that. And then Gates McFadden, Dr. Crusher, was my clown teacher at NYU. This is a true story. I don't know if you know this about her. Maybe the super fans know this. She studied at the Lecoq School of Movement and Clowning in Paris with Jacques Lecoq, the famous teacher. And she taught us at NYU clown, you know, wearing the red nose and stuff like that. And so I have a connection to those shows as well.
Did you ever meet Shatner?
I did a talk show once with Shatner. I think we were on the same, no, I was doing Jay Leno, and he was doing like a bit on Jay Leno. He wasn't one of the guests. And I think I was like, such a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Shatner. I was like a true like fan, and he was like, oh, yes, thank you, and but I didn't like properly introduce myself. I think he thought I was like part of the janitorial staff or something.
You never know what you're gonna get. That's the beauty of it. But I have to say, one of my favorite Star Trek movies of them all is Galaxy Quest. I mean, right? It's a Star Trek movie. And this is your first convention, and like, did you, like, now that you're experiencing all this, you go like, boy, they just like hit the nail on the head.
This is it. This is Galaxy Quest come to life. I'm having flashbacks of 1999. This is fantastic. Yeah, we need the spaceship to crash into the ceiling. We need Sam Rockwell and Sigourney Weaver to come out on stage. That was my very first movie. That was my very first movie, Galaxy Quest.
What was it like to not just work on a film, your first movie, but that kind of production?
That summer, I did Galaxy Quest and I did Almost Famous. And they were both DreamWorks films, and they're two of the best scripts I've ever read, and two of the best movies made in the last 30 years. And it was remarkable. I mean, I remember reading Galaxy Quest and said, this is hysterical, and it was even better than they had it in the script. And it's one of those rare, like, I think David Mamet said that Galaxy Quest is on his list of 10 perfect films. Like, there's only like 10 perfect films, and Galaxy Quest is one of them.
It is a perfect film. And you know what, I have to say, so is Almost Famous. That is a perfect film. You know, Cameron Crowe is not just a writer, it is a great screenplay, but as a director, what was it like working with him? And what do you sort of like take with you when you work with someone like Cameron Crowe, especially when you get into more, you know, more depth and more comedy, like you did, you know, with The Office? And what do you take from a director like that?
Well, Cameron is a very special person, and I remember auditioning I auditioned for a couple of different supporting roles, and I went into his office in Santa Monica, and I was sitting, you know, on a chair like this, and then Cameron comes in, and he goes like, "Hey man, it's Cameron. How's it going?" I think he had flip-flops and shorts. He's like, "So good to meet you. I looked your audition on the tape," and it's like, you know, let's just read some stuff. Let me grab this camera here, and you know, let's just read some stuff. And then he sits down at my feet, and with the camera, and we just start reading some of the different characters and stuff like that. But that is very, very rare, where most directors in Hollywood are behind the table and don't shake your hands like, "Hello, welcome. Yes, what will you be doing today? Thank you very much. Thank you for your time." You know, it's very aloof, and he's just very genial and passionate. And it was working with Cameron in that, and then I did a thing on his Roadies, his short-lived show. One person clap, thank you. Roadies fan. And Cameron brings such heart and passion to his work. And just on the set, it's just big-heartedness. He cares deeply about the stories he tells, and he's completely invested.
Absolutely. You know, one of my favorite TV shows of the last like 20 years, 6 Feet Under. I mean, what Al Ball was doing with that show, especially the last episode, which was so profound. You know, there's really no show like that. It's so different. It still stands up. It holds up. It could be aired today, and it would fit right in with our current time.
Right.
What do you know? That was a breakthrough for you,
Mm-hmm.
Arthur Martin.
That's right.
And what was that like working on that show?
Yeah, so that was the breakthrough role that I got maybe in 2003 or something like that. And I was just kind of dinking around Hollywood playing little roles. And, you know, when I first moved there, I landed Galaxy Quest and Almost Famous. I was like, oh, this is a cinch. This is gonna be great. I promptly did not work for a year after that. So I kept auditioning for 6 Feet Under. They kept bringing me in for very small roles, and I kept not booking the small roles. So I literally missed out on like 4 different roles. But if I had been cast in one of those small roles that had like 3 or 4 lines, I wouldn't have gotten to do Arthur on the show. which I think is a great lesson for anyone as an artist or struggling with anything. Like, you never know when those failures are actually successes in disguise. So then I auditioned for like a gay choir member with like 3 lines, and I came out, and then I saw on the breakdowns, which is where they list the different parts, I saw the Arthur Martin, and it said, you know, a very odd, you know, character who's an undertaker, assistant, and like Peter Sellers type. And I was like, oh my God, that's me, I could do that. So I went to the casting person, I was like, hey, can I actually audition for that role? I know that, forgive me if I'm stepping over any boundaries here. And she's like, oh, let me find out. Let me ask him if you can do that. I'm not being offensive, that's actually how she talks. Ask anyone, she's infamous, Libby Goldstein, she talks that way. And she went in and she's like, Rainn, you might want to see you for it, that's great. Can you come back in an hour and do a part? So I just took the script and went off and got a coffee and went in and then got that role, and that role really, it was amazing because I remember that night, I had a call back and read with Francis Conroy, and my manager called me and he said, Rainn, your entire life is about to change. And it was really that kind of a role that like shifted everything. So I'm super grateful for that experience.
Well, the role that shifted it even further, obviously, I mean, how did The Office change your life? Loaded question.
How did it change my life? I mean, in so many ways. I mean, it was one of those, I mean, it's just a rare, magical, I mean, in a weird way, there's a parallel to like Star Trek, the original series, you know, that this show just really took on a life of its own and has a huge fan base, and there's people that watch the show over and over again. They've seen people come up to me like, I've seen every episode 12 times. And I say, get a life. Just think about it. That's 60 hours. No, I don't know how many hours, but it's like, that's like a year of your life you've spent watching The Office. No, but the fans are amazing. It's one of the last great sitcoms. It was Thursday night appointment television on NBC, kind of before that kind of way of watching television ended. And it holds up, and it's really smart, and it changed my life in so many ways. It opened so many doors. It allowed me to do a lot of different movies, some cool ones and some bad ones, but I got to do some great stuff, meet a lot of great people, and I bought a house, so that was good. And yeah, absolutely, it changed my life, and I'm grateful for that as well.
What was the biggest challenge in playing Dwight? Because, you know, you are clearly a Star Trek fan, but Dwight was a Battlestar Galactica fan.
I know.
I mean, how do you do that?
No, the writers originally were like, well, Dwight should be a Star Wars fan. And they were like, no, he needs to be like a more obscure science fiction, like there's something. So that's right when Battlestar Galactica was happening, like he's a huge Battlestar Galactica fan. So I loved Battlestar Galactica, especially the first 2-3 seasons. I thought were just some of the best sci-fi that's ever been on TV. I thought it was just fascinating that, you know, there was this one idea in it that was just so brave, which was that the cyborgs believed in God, and the humans were polytheists or atheists, but they believed in multiple gods. So it was this crazy, like, had this spiritual, religious, you know, themes and threads running through it. It was fascinating.
You know, the thing about BSG, because Battlestar Galactica I think of as the 78 show, and BSG I think of as the Ron Moore, David Icke show. And the great thing about that show, I completely agree, it's brilliant. It's definitely one of the best shows of the 21st century. Perfect 9/11, post 9/11 allegory. But the way, as the show progressed, the humans and the Cylons, at least the humans.
You said cyborgs, I'm sorry. My brain's not working.
4 a.m., it's okay. But they became more alike than unalike. And it was so philosophical and deep. I'm digressing. I apologize. I love BSG. You know, with all these superhero movies that we've seen in the last 20 years, starting with Blade in 1998. And the way the genre has really grown, evolved, expanded. I mean, look at the MCU. One movie that I really love, one that is underseen, that is superb, is Super.
Superb.
Superb.
Yes.
That was a dark movie.
Yes. You can see it, it's on Netflix. James Gunn, it was his second movie. He did Slither, and then he did Super, and then he did Guardians of the Galaxy, of course. And yeah, I mean,
It's dark.
It's dark. It's really, it's so interesting because it's really funny and really weird and super dark all at the same time. I was at the office on a lighting break, and I was at Jenna Fisher's, you know, Pam, the receptionist area, and she goes, you know, James, she used to be married to James Gunn, and they're still really close, good friends. That was one of the sweetest divorces of all time. They kind of amicably said, you know, we really don't belong together, and we shouldn't be married. Yeah, okay, well, let's just divide things fairly and shake hands and part ways. Great, okay, great. So it was, I mean, it was completely amicable, and even James's friend with her new husband, and so it's great. And she was like, James wrote a film called Super years ago, and they could never get it made, but he'd be perfect for that. You should talk to him about it. She goes, I'm going to write him right now. And she wrote, hey, James, what about Rainn for Super? And he was like, I love it. And then he literally, like, bing, I got on my phone, they had sent me the script, and I went in my trailer, and I started reading it. I was 30 pages in, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in. This is amazing. And we took it out together, and we pounded the pavement and went into different producers' offices and raised the money. And in a really hard time, it was during the recession. And you know, I think it's a classic, and it's certainly a cult classic. And for people who haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. It's called Super. It's kind of a dark, low-rent kind of DIY deconstruction of a superhero movie.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, it totally, and it's, yeah, watch it. I wouldn't have even brought it up, but it is a fantastic movie. And you have a new film that is opening this coming Friday, The Meg.
The Meg, yes.
So that's based on a book.
Yep.
And how is it, you know, it opens, it's a big, wide release, August 10th, that's this coming Friday. Wait, a week from today. And,
yep.
You know, so tell us about that.
Yeah, it's, The Meg is, I mean, it's terrific. It's, what can I say? I mean, I'm not going to say it sucks. Like, no, but it's really a fun, awesome movie. John Turteltaub, who did National Treasure and a bunch of other great films, he really knows what he's doing. He knows how to do a big popcorn movie. It's fun for the whole family. It's definitely scary, and it's got its thrills, but it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's got some nice humor running through it. Because ultimately, it's about a giant shark. You know, how seriously can you take that? But the special effects on it are amazing. And what they did to create the shark and the danger of the shark is incredible. And I'm a big Jason Statham fan. And so I was really psyched to be working with him. I think he's one of those action stars. Like, he's always believable. You really believe he can kick ass. You know when he says he's going to do something, he's like, I'm going to kick your ass. Like, you know that it's going to happen, you know. You believe him. So it was great. And it was a Chinese co-production. So there were a lot of Chinese actors and Chinese producers on it. They split the budget, and it's opening in China and the US in the same day, and so that's pretty cool too.
That's very cool. You know, working with John Krasinski for all those years on The Office, you know, he had directed a couple of films that I saw at Sundance. I go every year, and I got to tell you, in the end of March, A Quiet Place. Holy Toledo!
Yeah, terrific.
Like, did you see it?
I saw it opening weekend. I thought it was amazing, and. You know, people talked about it as a horror film. It's not a horror film. It's a science fiction film. I mean, it really is a sci-fi film. It's, you know, it's a monster movie. He did a great job. And John was always, when we were doing The Office, he was always writing scripts. He was always developing material. He was a terrific director. He directed a couple of movies beforehand. And he's a really multi-talented guy, and he hit it out of the park with that movie.
You really did. I want to open up to some audience questions we got. So let's take one from over here.
Considering how lethal Harry Mudd is, what are the chances we're dealing with a mirror universe Harry Mudd?
Ooh. I think chances are slim, but I sure would love to meet the mirror universe Harry Mudd, who would be he would just be a mean bastard. I mean, he would just, yeah, he would fuck you up. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna text the writers and give them that idea, and I'm gonna tell them that a rock star from 1977 gave me that idea.
Twisted Sister.
Ted Nugent, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know.
Yeah, if you have other questions, come up to the stage, and there's one over here.
Hey, Rainn. I have two quick questions. One, I wondered if it were possible for you to tell us whether the short trek that you're doing is set before Harry Mudd's first appearance or after his last appearance. And then second, one of the things we've heard from previous casts about their time on the show is that in their experience, they didn't really get a ton of input on the scripts, particularly on the day that they were shooting. As somebody whose experience in Hollywood has mostly been in the sort of comedy and improvisation space. What was your experience like in terms of being on set? Did you have the ability to improvise some of the lines? Was it all, keep it word perfect to the script? What was it like on Discovery?
Great questions. That's an excellent question about the short. I'm assuming it's after, but it stands alone, so it doesn't really tie into the story of the Discovery, so I'm not sure. But I really should know that, so I should probably ask them. And yeah, they were very collaborative with me, which was amazing, because they didn't have to be. I mean, most of the time when you're an actor, you're doing a guest spot role or a recurring role. It's like, here's your role, say the lines, do a great job, but they're way too busy with other things. But they wanted to do it right, and they were very open to feedback, and I gave notes on the scripts and stuff like that. And yeah, they let me improvise as well. So a lot of the things you see in the episode were lines. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I kind of have to. I feel like if you want me in something, you should let me improvise, because it's one of my strengths, and it will be better. And you don't have to use it. You can cut it out in the editing room as long as you get the line set. So it was very collaborative in that way. Yeah, I called Saru a bunch of strange names, and Jason, who I love to mock, a bunch of strange names, and we had a lot of fun.
Next question.
So I loved Backstrom, such a great character. You did him so well. What happened? Where'd he go?
Yeah, someone was like, no one watched it. That's partially true. Some people watched it, about as many people watched it as watched other shows, but they were looking for hits, and it was a new regime came into Fox at that time, and so they put on a bunch of other crappier shows. But yeah, that was a show I did on Fox, 13 episodes. We did after The Office about a kind of an alcoholic, irascible, self-destructive detective in kind of the Columbo mode, and it was really a lot of fun. If you can check them out, it's a terrific show. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Over to your right.
Hi. Besides killing Lorca repeatedly, what was your favorite moment on the set of Discovery?
That was it. Well, I think that Mudd's reunion with Stella was very meaningful to me, because Stella played such an important part, in the earlier Mudds, and the high Mudd especially, and so that was really fun. To tie it up, he was very villainous, but it kind of had a sweet comic ending to it, and so that was a lot of fun to be reunited with Stella. I love that coupleship of Harry and Stella.
Next question.
Have you seen the movie Groundhog Day?
Over and over and over again.
You're wearing a Star Wars shirt?
Get lost, kid. Why are you wearing a Star Wars shirt, dude?
I don't know. I forgot my uniform.
You can buy one right in the other room.
Can someone please lend this young man a Star Trek uniform, please?
And so, does someone have a Federation shirt to put on this poor child?
We love you. We love you. See what I did there? Okay. Next question.
Hi, thank you for coming. Love when you're in Discovery. I love Discovery. What do you think, since you're a fan of Star Trek, do you think Discovery, I mean, it's not your mom and dad Star Trek. It's pushing the line a little bit. What do you think? Is it a little darker or a little bit more, I don't know, risque or what? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, the producers think about if you're put in that situation where you're going to produce a new Star Trek show after the J.J. Abrams movies, in which a whole generation of kids didn't watch the shows; they just know it from those movies, and you know, and it's 2017, you know, when it's going to launch, and it's post 9/11, and you know, people are used to certain kinds of storytelling, and the way television has moved, you know, away from network and syndication into streaming and stuff like that. They're put in a really tough position, and I think they did an exceptional job considering, you know, the environment and the time that they needed to make this show. So they wanted it dark, they wanted a warlike show, they wanted to get to some really gritty issues and tackle them in an edgy way, and they knew they wanted it to be, you know, unfolding over the course of a season. So yeah, it's not your mom and dad's Star Trek, nor should it be. I don't know how you do a Star Trek where every week they go and discover a new planet. I don't know if that works in today's TV environment. Maybe it does, but I think they did a terrific job, and there were some amazing sequences and some great episodes, and the cast is fantastic.
Thank you.
That's actually a really good question. I definitely got asked a lot over the last year. Wow, this is different. This is dark. They actually use those words. This isn't your daddy's Star Trek, and I'd say, good. It should be different. If I wanted my daddy's Star Trek, which is my Star Trek, I'd watch the original series, Next Generation. That's what Blu-rays are for. That is what Netflix and CBS All Access is for. I want something different. I love those JJ movies because they were different. I love Discovery because it is different. Star Trek should evolve. It should be different. And I love the way the season ended with Discovery. You all saw the end. I'm not going to spoil it. Okay.
I don't know. I think about a third of this audience has not seen it. That's my guess.
By round of applause.
No, don't do applause. If you do show of hands.
Yeah, show of hands if you did not see. You're missing out. Boy, are you missing out, right?
I hate CBS. I'm not going to give them my money. I'm not going to pay CBS my $6 a month. I work hard for that $6 a month. Can I have a mochaccino, frappuccino, bappuccino with extra mocha, vanilla, how much will that be? $6. Bite me.
Touché. Yes.
So don't spoil the ending anyway.
I won't.
Now I've shamed them into subscribing and watching it.
I just was going to say that this takes place 10 years before Kirk's time, and you got to get there. So there's got to be an arc, and we're seeing the beginning of that arc, and I think that's awesome. Next question.
Rainn, hi. I was hoping you might settle a bet between me and a friend of mine here. Was Toby Flenderson really the Scranton Strangler?
Absolutely he was.
There you go. You win the bet. Next question.
Great to see you here. If Dwight Schrute were a Starfleet officer, what do you imagine his rank and position might be?
Best question ever. ones that beats. Yeah, it would be, do they have Federation Farmers? No. I think he'd want to be, he would have started in engineering, but he'd want to be security. But he would shoot his phaser too much and like blast holes in the walls. So then he's demoted from engineering to janitorial. So the Dwight on the Enterprise show is Dwight mopping those floors. Someone's got to mop those floors. They're spotless, and it's not Roombas. It's not like modern Roombas. So that would actually be a great show. I'd watch that show.
Next question.
Was it disturbing to work on House of a Thousand Corpses?
Oh, Rob Zombie.
Good call. House of a Thousand Corpses. Yeah, I did that right after I did Galaxy Quest. That was the one year later I did. That was the next job. Yeah, was it disturbing? Yeah, it was disturbing. It was like being in the nightmare mind of Rob Zombie. I mean, I remember doing the scene, and I'm forgetting the name. I think his name was Michael. It was the guy who had the giantism who was in the movie. Matthew was his name. I forget his last name. Anyone know his name? Matthew? He was a giant. Yeah, Matthew McCrory. And, we're eating dinner and there's like baby fetuses in jars along the walls. And, we're eating with a family of psycho killers. And it was pretty disturbing. Yeah, it was pretty disturbing. But it's a terrific cult horror film. And just, Rob's a great guy. I was happy to be a part of it.
I know this guy.
Hey, you look familiar.
You know, Rainn, you starred in a film that I thought was pretty visionary. I think it kind of flew under the radar, but I loved The Last Mimsy.
Last Mimsy.
And I just wondered if you could say anything about that project, how you got involved with it. It seemed like it was kind of ahead of its time.
Yeah, I feel like that film didn't get a fair release and a fair shake, and I think there's so much great stuff in it, and some of the sci-fi concepts in The Last Mimsy are really cool and relevant today. I just got sent the script. They made me the offer, and I really loved. I love sci-fi, and I liked the character a lot, and wanted to be a part of it, and. People still see that film every once in a while, and so which is great because I think it's a beautiful, sci-fi for the whole family kind of film in like kind of a throwback to the '80s, Yeah,
so. It does feel like that. Like Shea directed that, right?
Yeah, Bob Shea.
That was Bob Shea, Labor of Love. I think that was his personal pet project.
Yeah, he had shepherded it along for years, and he was the producer of Lord of the Rings. And he founded New Line Cinema, a great visionary entertainment dude.
Yeah, definitely.
Plus, he got Roger Waters to write the theme song, Hello, I Love You, which is like unbelievable. So, is anybody in there? So, I mean, if you can get Roger Waters to do the song for your film, that's pretty cool.
Howard Shore did the soundtrack, so it was great.
Great question, Adam Malin. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott Mance. Thank you, Rainn.
Final question over here.
Hi, I was hoping you would just tell us a little bit about the organization you and your wife have been raising money for and what that is doing for young women.
Oh, wow, thank you. Are you a plant? Were you planted in the audience? That's very nice. Yeah, so my wife and I do a lot of nonprofit charitable work. We founded a foundation in Haiti doing girls' education. Girls in Haiti are really mistreated and abused and often not educated, and they're meant to just work in the markets and work in the fields and raise the kids and cook. They're often sexually abused. They're often sold into sex slavery, and it's a really abused population. So we work in about 13 locations in Haiti with over 500 girls. We do scholarships and arts education and literacy. We have a mobile computer lab, and we feed them, and we work with them and their families to continue their educational journeys. And it's called Lide Haiti, L-I-D-E Haiti, and you can go to lidehaiti.org and check it out. But it's we go down to Haiti a couple times a year and continue, working on it. And it's a great effort of love.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you so much for that question, and thank you. And Rainn Wilson, thank you very much. Your first convention here.
I'm no longer a virgin.